Welcome back to our podcast, the Sundaypuncher podcast, and very happy Father's Day to me. I got my two sons here with me, Simon and Jason. And let's talk about someone else's son. Let's talk about Andre Ward's son, Paul Smith. Paul Smith didn't make weight, didn't look like he tried, and then performed like he did. And just so you guys know, before we fully jump into Ward versus Smith, we're going to talk about the PBC card, the David Lemieux fight against Hassan Endam last night. Marcia's Walk, or however you say his name, who we said and dismissed last week on the podcast, saying that he wasn't relevant to talk about. We're going to talk about him this week. And then Demetrius Andrade, Andy Lee, Billy Joe Saunders, I'm Not Ruin Wrong, and Timothy Bradley. These are all the guys we're going to talk about this week. So, guys, Andre Ward versus Paul Smith.
So I ended up having to catch this fight on a Sky broadcast. So I got Jim Watt and what's his name there?
Nick Helling.
Nick Helling, yeah. But I was unfortunate because before we got into the sort of meat of the fight, I was hoping to hear what it was like because it was on BET for you guys, wasn't it? And yeah. I wanted to find out how that went down.
Well, Jason wants to talk about Sky, so let Jason talk about Sky, then I'll tell you how BET went.
Yeah. So it was probably some of the worst commentating that I've heard in a really long time.
Oh, God. Here we go.
It was absolutely ridiculous. So you have arguably the man who will sit upon the number one pound-for-pound spot in boxing in 3 months after Floyd Mayweather retires, right? He's undisputed number two.
Manny Pacquiao hasn't retired yet.
He's undisputed number two.
Doesn't even.
Undisputed number two. Don't make me say it again. And I think they mentioned Andre Ward's name 5 times throughout the entire broadcast. The entire thing was Paul Smith. Paul Smith. Paul Smith. Oh, here's what he's doing. He's just letting Ward go at him for the first 4 rounds to tire him out. Now, that's a strategy, I'll tell you what. And it's like you have one of the best fighters in boxing. Talk about him. Analyze him. What's he doing? What's he doing right? What's he doing wrong? How does he look?
You do know that Paul Smith is their coworker, right? That he does commentary for them.
No. I don't care either.
No, I'd point out as well, I don't think that they were biased in the, Smith's doing a really good job, but they totally weren't giving Ward any attention or focus.
That's what I'm saying. Right.
Yeah.
They made it the Paul Smith show.
It was how Paul Smith's losing here.
Exactly.
And what he's doing to lose. You see how he's losing?
It was atrocious to listen to. Wow, look at it. He really lost those rounds. He sure did.
Like he was losing them on purpose?
Well, it was his strategy. No. Right. Ward is just a constant value, and it was about how Smith measures up against it.
It was
without
just
putting any icing on Ward and without analysing or critiquing or...
Yeah, it was just really, this is the route. And I get it. This is the UK. They're going to want to hear about their fighters. So I don't want to be, I understand why it was that way. But it was just, I thought maybe just the credentials of Andre Ward would have rose him up enough in their minds to, give him some airtime.
Well, it's the sad truth that Paul Smith is a bigger name and, much more known fighter here than Andre Ward.
I guess that's it then, huh?
If you'd have had someone with an ounce of reputation in the ring, they'd have talked about them. But where it's Andre Ward, he's not a very well-known character over here.
Even though he beat up all your fighters?
Yeah, despite that, yeah.
All right. That wasn't jokingly. It's just, just like in the U.S. When somebody comes over to the U.S. and then beats up, somebody, they make a name for themselves, and occasionally, people latch on and follow their careers because of that impressive performance.
Oh, like Amir Khan?
When I've had to explain it to most people, they're like, who is he? And you use him as, he's the guy who beat Froch, and they're like, oh.
Oh, right. Yeah. So, but Angela, what'd you think of the BET broadcast? Because you're the only one, I think, that watched it.
It was a below average, is what I would say.
Well, it's their first one,
Yeah, and it really looked like it. I mean, they advertised this fight as a cruiserweight fight.
Oh,
they thought it was,
really?
Now, Paul Smith, granted, was a cruiserweight last night. Let's not get that conflicted or twisted in any way. but that was not a cruiserweight contracted fight. But that was what they advertised it as. And they
That's
had Barry Tompkins
interesting.
on the commentary.
I like Tompkins.
And he did a good job. But you know what? I think they were so caught in how good Ward is and just how good it was to see Ward back in the ring and to see a guy who's one of the best in the world at what he does at work. So it was pretty gushing over Ward.
See, that's what I wanted to hear. And I just got gushing over Paul Smith doing
You think
poorly.
they lost their professional edge and went into full like fanboy mode? Is that what you're saying?
It was very close. And now, granted, Paul Smith, you did not do anybody any favors. You did not make this hard for people to really gush about Andre Ward. But I mean, Ward clotted this fight. I mean, he had the punch stat said he landed double-digit punches, but I would be shocked if he actually did if we went back and watched. I mean, Paul Smith looked like a punching bag in there.
There was a point at the end of the fourth round. It was right in the last 10 seconds of the fourth round where Ward stopped hitting him and he just started feinting him, and then he laughed at him. Like, he feinted a jab to the body, and then and Smith reacted so much. Like, he had an overreaction from the small feint that Ward did, that Ward just laughed at him and then just like feinted two more feints and was snickered and then walked back to his corner because the round was over. It was just like he just had his number completely, and it's what you expected. I don't know how much time we really need to spend here. It's great that Andre Ward's back. He did exactly as was expected, right?
It's more about looking to the future, I think, for me. So Ward's the more interesting conversation, so let's save him. With Paul Smith's weight, and with his... So obviously he's done at super middle, he's tried what he could do, had his shot twice, failed twice, moved up to this catch weight. Do we think with his weight that he's headed straight for a fight with Tony Bellew at cruiser?
Yes, because...
Why not? It's a nice domestic fight, right?
Well, where else is he going? You know, I'm just thinking, if I wanted to elongate his career, he's got no business at light heavy. He's got no business anywhere except super middle, and he's shown that he hasn't quite got what it takes to rise above the sort of intercontinental scene. So, in terms of keeping him in interesting fights, why not?
I've always thought that Paul Smith was kind of small for a super middleweight to begin with. So if you want to go to cruiserweight and fight Tony Bellew, fine, do that. It's a cash out, is what it is.
Yeah.
And if Paul Smith wants a cash out, I got no problem with that. But don't get in the ring again with a top 5 guy in any division.
Yes.
Because, I mean, you don't deserve another fight after that one against Andre Ward. And I know Paul Smith entered that fight, and Paul Smith commentates, and he's not bad at it. He does know what he's talking about, and he comes from a family of fighters. I know he knew that he had no shot at winning that fight, but it was entirely unprofessional to come in and not make weight, and then just have this whole demeanor of like, I'm not winning this fight, and I'm not even going to try.
He'd given up before the first bell even rang. He'd given up a few weeks ago in camp.
He gave up the moment he signed his contract.
He looked like LeBron James in the fourth quarter of Game 6 of the NBA Finals, and you guys didn't see it, but the Cavs were within striking distance, and this is for the title. If they lose this game, it's over. And he only shot the ball 4 times, and this is the best player on the planet. And he shoots the ball 4 times, I think, in the fourth quarter, and they come within 4 points with 50 seconds left on the clock, and he just comes back down the court and chucks up a shot without setting nothing up and giving himself a chance to really make a basket there. And it was the same thing that I saw with Paul Smith. But let's not, be so down. And let's change the subject, because we're going to talk about Andre Ward a little later on.
Yeah, fuck Paul Smith. Come on. Let's go.
So let's talk about Adrien Broner and Shawn Porter. So, Simon,
Hi.
Who looked worse?
I don't think that's not going to be on either fighter's highlight reel. Broner looked worse for me.
Jason, do you agree with him?
That Broner looked worse?
Yeah.
I that's kind of a tough question. They both... I would say I would have expected more from Broner.
Right.
I guess that kind of answers the question in a way. I would have expected more from Broner, so I guess you could say that he would look worse. Whereas Porter kind of fought the fight that I expected him to fight. I didn't necessarily think it would be as effective against Broner, but it was.
Right. Well, it was effective to whatever extent, because if anybody's going to come here and say that Porter schooled Broner, I don't think so.
No,
And I
no, it's a
think
close fight.
this was a perfect fight for PBC because they got to put on their, good guy versus bad guy show, and everybody got to see the bad guy lose. But the bad guy did enough at the end to ensure that people are going to tune into him again. He like it's like almost like he got his hate back. When the bad guy finally lose, everybody kind of like loosens up on him. Like when Bradley lost, or when he didn't lose, but when
He fought Provodnikov, right? There was this whole
it was like a
cloud
release.
that released. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And instead of having that release and people finally say, all right, well, Broner, no, he got it right back. He drops Porter in the last round, and then does all the antics in the post-fight interview and in the post-fight press conference that it would be nice if somebody can come and knock Broner out now. Is how everybody probably feels. Like they need to put him in a wig and in a ring with Adonis Stevenson.
It's when the villain gets their just desserts, but then they're in their emergency escape pod and they talk some smack to upset you just as they blast away to set them off for the sequel.
Yeah, exactly. Do you guys want to see a rematch between these two guys?
I actually would, if Broner's able to do different things, and it's almost like he'd given up after about, I don't know, middle of the fight. It's like he lost his enthusiasm, and was just there's so much pushing and holding and oddness like that. Yeah, I don't know if he took it with a different approach, then yeah, I'd definitely watch that.
You think Broner's going to have a different approach?
I mean, it might be a big ask.
That's asking a lot from either of these guys, which is why I was really curious to see what you guys. I think the real conversation here is how these two guys do. Broner in a rematch with Maidana and Porter in a rematch with Brook.
I think they go exactly the same as the first time.
I think that you're probably right. What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, I don't think. I think that those fights are the same. Neither of them have progressed to a level or have shown any wrinkles in their game that would make me think otherwise.
They're the exact same fighters, is what I'm trying to get at.
They're the exact same fighters. Yeah.
Broner
totally
did the exact same thing against Maidana, where he came on strong, and in the 12th round, he had Maidana hurt. Against Emmanuel Taylor, in the last round, he drops him. And against Porter, I mean, kudos to Broner for being able to be that kind of guy that can pull it out in the last minute of a round or of a fight or something. But, nothing different, man. Nothing different.
This was a close fight, but Broner lost some stock in my book. I definitely don't...
He held a lot of stock in your book before?
He held enough that I thought he'd be able to win this fight handedly.
Okay.
So, absolutely. Yeah, but he lost a lot of stock.
Do you think maybe you just had less Porter stock?
I know how I feel about him.
You have, destroyed Porter
exactly.
on the podcast and, in private conversations.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. This loses a lot of stock for me in Broner at this point. I think this should have been a fight that he should have been able to handle it a lot more effectively. I scored it for Porter by a round, so I didn't have a wide score. I had a pretty tight score. One of the judges had it the same, 112, 114. And, I was just really, disappointed. We talked about this a little bit, but Broner's biggest problem in my eyes, I know you viewed it a little differently, is his output. He doesn't have enough output to clearly win rounds. So he could land the harder, crisper shots in the rounds, but he loses them to somebody who's just being more aggressive. Even if the aggression isn't necessarily as effective, they're able to make up for it in their volume. So that's the problem that Broner, at least that I see with Broner again and again, is that he just doesn't have a high enough work rate. If we had this fighter, the same Adrien Broner, but he's landing 5 to 10 more punches around, or even, just throwing 20 more punches around, I think you have a fighter that's really, really hard to beat. But because he keeps his activity output so low, people could steal rounds on him.
I think the thing that really killed Broner is that he fought for so long in a division where he was the biggest guy. So the same Adrien Broner, we haven't seen anything new from Broner. I mean, we've all been watching Broner because HBO showed him pretty young. But I've been watching him for a very long time, and I know, in my opinion, this dude is the exact same guy I have never seen Broner fight any differently. And because he was able to bully these guys early on, he fights like a guy with way more power than he actually does now. Like, he has not taken stock of himself and said, oh, you know what? I actually don't have as much power as I think I do.
And or does he, though? You know, that 12th round, you know, maybe it's not all...
Are you about to defend Broner?
Well, you're saying he's definitely not got the power, but in a step up in weight, I don't know. I saw some power.
Here's I'll defend that in a second, but to finish the thing, I think if Broner could fight like the way he does and have, you know, the power behind his jab, Porter doesn't do a lot of the things that Porter did. In fact, this might have even looked like the Brook fight. But
that's kind of more what I was expecting.
Right.
Out of Broner.
Back to what you said, Simon. I think Broner's just got this thing where he turns it on when he knows the lights get the brightest. And in the 12th round, we've seen him do this where he can pull something out of his ass. And that's what he did last night. Because if you would have asked me after the first round, is Broner going to hurt Porter here? I would have said absolutely not. He hit him with four check hooks and nothing. Porter's head didn't even turn around.
Yeah, it is a weird one.
I mean, Broner hit him with a lot of stuff. Like, Porter did not. He can't say that he was Andre Ward in that fight.
Well, but he also, Porter's a tough guy though too. He took a lot of shots from Brook.
He was also very big.
Yeah. And he's tough. So I mean, I think Broner's got power. He obviously didn't get it. He doesn't have enough power to get any respect in that fight. You know, Porter,
he doesn't have he doesn't even have Mayweather power. You know, Mayweather has that certain level of power where he gets everybody's respect.
Yeah. And that's
going to get his marching orders now. Is it going to be the case that he's going to get sent back to light welter?
I don't know that he can make it. Sent back to light welter because
I don't think he can make it.
There's some big names out there that will probably give him trouble.
Well, there's a lot of people leaving too.
Yeah, he'd be super relevant to that division though.
But I don't think he can make the weight. That was part of the reason.
Oh, I'm with you. I
don't think he can make it. He's one of those fighters who is stuck in this position where maybe he's too small for a full-fledged 147.
If Cotto and Canelo don't have to make weight for any fight that they're in.
Are you suggesting that he's set for a catch weight with Garcia then?
Garcia loves a catch weight.
The limbo between light welter and welter.
That'd be a good fight. Do that fight at 144. There's no belts. They don't have any belts.
Well, Garcia is the lineal super lightweight. He's lineal, but, only nerds care about that like us.
Well, he hasn't defended that theoretical belt in
for quite
long
some
time.
What are you talking? I'm not even gonna entertain that conversation. Let's just talk about Earl.
But what are you talking about?
Before you go on,
he hasn't fought at 140 in like 2 or 3 fights.
In a year.
It's only been a year.
He has nothing on Andre Ward right now.
If we're saying that,
it's only been a year though.
Yeah, if we're saying that Broner can't be relevant at welter and he can't make light welter and his best options are catch weight against Garcia and that's it, does that put his future in jeopardy in terms of multiple fights?
No, I think a lot of people would be willing to jump up to Broner weight to get a fight with him.
Maybe, but how long can you keep doing that trick? That that works as long as he keeps winning and is a benchmark. But if he keeps losing,
it's been 16 months for Garcia.
I doubt Broner's going to be in a fight where he can lose.
Well, that's what you thought about this one.
Yeah, exactly. So and he just lost one.
Yeah, I mean the AB's about billions and absolute brilliance and all that. Is it more Andre Berto? Is it more average boxer?
Simon had those written down.
He's proving
you had to have written those down.
He's proving to be more less exceptional than I thought he was. He definitely is. Is that hard to understand?
It is for me less exceptional.
He's proving to be less exceptional.
Oh, I thought you said more or less accepted.
No, he's proving to be less exceptional than I thought he was. And I thought he looked good coming off of the loss there with Maidana. Because we got to see his chin checked and we knew that the kid had some heart and he knew how to come back in a fight. So that actually made me a little more confident in him. And then forget Broner for a second. What's Porter do now?
He chases Kell Brook.
Right? He tries that rematch?
Oh, yeah. it's definitely what should be on his mind. I don't necessarily think he'll do any better than he did before, but in terms of what options he's got out there,
probably.
You think?
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was going to say, but I think that's the most sensible, lucrative, winnable fight for him.
Well, it's not win.
Well, especially because there's already the rumor out that Earl Spence might get him, and Earl Spence looked amazing last night.
Dynamite.
Something like that. And Spence already wants Thurman. And by the way,
that was funny.
If I could for a second, if I'm in charge of PBC, I say, I'm sorry, Earl, but you are not getting Thurman and you are not getting Porter. Let's slow you down a little. You're not going to get two guys, one guy who's undefeated and known as a knockout artist, although he doesn't really have power at the world level, and Porter, who's just coming off of a win against Adrien Broner. You're not getting that because we still need to build you up. Those fights need to mean something.
They haven't even polished his highlight reel yet.
Exactly.
It needs to get up there.
Yeah, he definitely needs some step ups. It was funny to hear him say that. Did he throw Floyd in the mix or no?
Yes, he did. He
did, right? I thought he did. Yeah.
He said it as if it was signed.
Said Floyd. I know.
Here's what you do if you're PBC is you put Spence against Broner.
That's
you cash out on Broner now. Because Broner, even if he loses to Spence, he's like you really like. That's not going to get Broner out of the spotlight, and it's not going to stop people from tuning in to watch him.
Wasn't
Broner's
it Broner,
a marketable fighter?
And
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Can we just clarify? Wasn't it Broner that got offered $40 million by Rock Nation to sign up like a 6-fight contract or something?
And wasn't it Broner who, rumored in the lead up to the Maidana fight, was put to sleep Marquez style by a certain Earl Spence Jr.?
Yes.
What I mean is, if PBC are cashing out on him, how gutted would you be that you turned down a $40 million, contract in advance, fight contract, and then you get ported and then put to bed?
No, that's crazy. Nobody's cashing out on Broner. He's way too marketable. That's ludicrous. He brings fans. He brings ratings. There's no way. He brings hate. He doesn't maybe bring fans, but he brings hate. People tune in to see him. And the bottom line, though, about this fight is it was a close goddamn fight, right? No, so, it's one of those fights where both guys could walk away from it. Nobody should really have their head hung too low. You know what I mean?
I think they both should be equally low of like, damn, I look like a dumbass.
Both should be
but from a marketing perspective.
Hesitant.
From a marketing perspective, Broner doesn't need to go, start fighting the level 50, competitor just to get back in shape. It's not like he took a beating where he needs to rebuild his confidence.
But it's okay for Deontay Wilder to do that in his first defense of his heavyweight
title. Hold on. We're talking about the heavyweight WBC champion of the world. He picks and chooses what he does and where he does it. Bomb squad.
All right. How impressed were you guys with Earl Spence? We got to run through topics now since you guys love Broner.
I'm pretty sure this is probably getting edited out, but he's one of those guys where maybe jumping on board with a real trainer that's not your father might really help him. Well, because he's obviously rugged and he's tough and he's got some stamina. And he knows how to get up from a knockdown. So he's got some good innate physical qualities that you can't train. Like you can't teach those things. Now let's get him in with somebody that can really teach him some things.
Freddie
Put
Roach?
those elements together in the right way.
Freddie Roach?
I think trying to have an
fucking
actual
ideal
discussion.
for Porter. No, I come on, add
add
the elements together. Add the elements together. That's fine. Roach works perfectly.
I mean, it wouldn't be that big of a difference for Porter.
It'd be a limited knockout artist that's got power and low IQ.
I say put him in with
Virgil Hunter.
You guys are being assholes. Forget it.
This part is not getting edited out, by the way.
Simon. There was some point. Well, fine. There were some points in there though that Broner was looking for a counter, and he was in his I'm going to counter you stance. And Porter's way to trick him out of that would be to drop his guard and beckon him on. Come on. Try and hit me. And it's that's not how you deal with a counterpuncher. You don't just try and coax them into punching you and moving first. It's just so amateur in just every aspect.
Do you guys want to talk about the Earl Spence fight, or should
Look, what's there to say?
I
There's a
just
guy
bring up
that's on.
Golovkin because that's the only way you guys ever get off the topic.
No,
We want to talk about Golovkin?
You want to talk about Spence? Yeah, he blew the head off of someone that was
picked 2 days before
there
the
to
fight.
get the head blown off.
I know. We could just talk about Earl Spence in general, though. Like, what are your feelings on him?
Well, the question I had for you guys: where do you project this guy ending up?
I think he could be. I think he could compete with top tens eventually, but he needs a year or two. You know what I mean? He's still really early on.
So you don't advise the Thurman fight in September?
I would. You know what?
I'm not that high on Thurman, so I would.
I'd say go for that, man.
Yeah.
After the Guerrero fight, Thurman might be right for the picking, you know. But and I would love that fight just because of how compelling it would be, right? Because we have this completely, relatively unproven Errol Spence, but he looks hot, great knockouts, that kind of thing. But I do, obviously, it's way too big of a jump, too quick, too soon, right? But I wouldn't mind seeing it. I'd tune in, man. I would certainly tune in. So if I'm talking from a fan's perspective, hell yeah, I'd see it. But if I'm managing him, maybe not the right move.
Yeah.
But I think at one point, to answer your question completely, at one point, absolutely, he'll be able to compete with the Thurmans of the world.
Yeah.
He'll probably knock out Amir Khan right now if he had to.
Simon, you agree?
Yeah, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
You should have disagreed because Jason has been on one about Amir Khan this week.
I know, right? What's happened?
Jason is a freight train right now.
I wrote that whole thing for Dean.
Dean hates Amir Khan, by the way.
That was
David Lemieux versus Hassan N'Dam. It was a good fight. I think Lemieux. The worst thing Lemieux can do is drop somebody early in a fight because it takes him a while. You saw in rounds 3 or 4 after he dropped N'Dam for the first time, Lemieux went back to old Lemieux. And what does old Lemieux do?
Mm-hmm.
He comes with one punch at a time, and now those punches he throws will knock you out if they land. They absolutely will. They might kill some people. But you know what? They're so obvious, and they're so easy to
telegraphed.
Get away that he ends up losing the next 2 rounds because he's just busy trying to murder N'Dam.
Yeah.
And he still won the fight. Lemieux put on when he remembered to box, he looked really good.
You could have it pretty even in terms of rounds. It's just the knockdowns that tip the score, really.
Yeah. And N'Dam is just the toughest dude in boxing.
Yeah. N'Dam goes down so much, but just gets back up.
I was thinking to myself, because I was like, how the hell is he doing this? And how is Lemieux, who's killing him with these shots, not getting him out of there? And I think what N'Dam does that very few fighters do is the moment a shot hurts him, he just goes down.
Oh, rather than taking any more sustained punishment.
Instead of trying to stay on his feet and get the sense knocked out of him, he's just like, whatever.
You know what? That's a good observation because I feel like he kind of did that in the Quillen fight too, where he went down 6 times.
Right, and that's why he's able to get up, and it's like his legs are completely underneath him. What's going on here?
Right, he gets up and he's okay, and it's like something's not right.
Amir, take notes. So, look, there's a really obvious question here now. Did Lemieux show you enough that leads you to believe that he can survive, have a chance against Golovkin?
I thought you were going to say, did he show you enough that you think he should be Golovkin's next opponent? Because the answer to that is yes.
No,
but did he show you that he
be Golovkin's opponent? He didn't need the belt.
Right, but did he show us enough that he would keep a competitive or end the fight on his feet? I don't think so.
No.
You think differently, Angelo?
No, I think exactly the same.
I think Lemieux will have the best chance anybody has had so far, only because he could conceivably catch anybody. He is crazy enough and throws ridiculous enough punches that, you know what, he might be able to knock out Andre Ward and Floyd Mayweather just because he actually takes the chance that nobody else takes. But also, he might get knocked out in 1 round because of that.
Yeah.
I think he would have to go into that fight with the attitude of, I need to catch him with that punch, and in turn would get himself knocked out because of it. But he would need that attitude going in because there's no way he takes a decision.
Maybe this one's won in the press conferences leading up, and he can goad him into I bet that Golovkin's going to use his defense and hold his hands up and that. A real drama show, if he wanted to put one on and fight Mexican style, he'd walk towards me with his hands down. But he won't do that. And see if they can just get him riled up enough that he'll do it.
I think, because we just saw this last weekend with Walter's fight, and we often see it when we get two power punches against each other. It might not go that way. They both might respect each other's power.
Yeah. I don't think there's much danger of that happening with this one though.
I know both of them believe in their power way too much.
I mean, you are right. There's times where it sort of stagnates because they're both got equally impressive power. But in this situation, I think Golovkin's like that kind of like he's like a Goku Saiyan style character who just wants to feel the strongest punches and deliver the strongest punches. And if you can punch him really hard, that's great because that means he's fighting someone who's also powerful.
So tell me more about this Dragon Balls thing.
Is that what it was? I don't know though.
Yeah. Well, he always wants to like he just loves fighting and he's just about improving his technique.
Which guy are you talking about?
Golovkin.
Because you could be talking about Lemieux too.
Yeah, that's true. Although I don't know character wise if that would be an equivalence. But yeah, I mean it's just about the love of the love of combat and wanting to push yourself to your limits and beyond by testing yourself against the strongest opponents.
Lemieux seems like he's the type that's not accurate. That's definitely accurate for Golovkin, but Lemieux seems like the guy who loves the violence. And blood is something he likes to see. Knockouts, definitely. All right, now over to Marius Walk, who won on Friday. We didn't talk about him last week because I figured nobody knew who he was or cared. But but he won on Friday, and now suddenly and predictably, he's gotten himself a fight with Anthony Joshua. Simon.
Oh boy.
Klitschko wasn't able to stop Walk. Klitschko also wasn't able to stop Kevin Johnson. But Joshua stopped Kevin Johnson. So by transitive property, will Joshua stop Walk?
He's gonna get walked. Yeah, he is gonna get knocked out. Like I don't know. I keep thinking that these credible people are gonna last till the mid rounds. I thought that Johnson would head into the mid rounds, but the power, the boy's got power. I think again, since if history's taught us anything, it's going to be a second or third round KO for AJ.
I have this third. I think Walk avoids Joshua for the first round, eats some shots in the second, and then gets stopped in the third.
It's difficult to avoid him though. He's quite good at cutting you down. His lateral movement is very good for someone so big. He is nimble on his feet.
You ever considered that when you're 6'6", it's pretty easy to cut off the ring?
Right. Yeah, so a step. But it's not just the mobility. It's if you watch, anytime his opponent steps to the side, he's right there cutting off. He understands the game very well, especially for someone of his age. So I don't know if he's going to have room to have a first round feeling him out and staying out of trouble. Sometimes the fight just gets brought to them.
Let's talk about another mismatch that got signed this week, and that is Demetrius Andrade, who's going to finally make his return after I don't know how long of a layoff.
Do you want to do his name? Because I didn't correct you on Marius. Shall I correct you on this guy?
Sure.
Andrade.
I doubt you're right.
Andrade.
No. It's Andrade. He doesn't like to say it's being said. I know that's how you say that name.
Yeah?
But that's not how he likes it said.
Demetrius?
Yeah. Andrade, not Andrade. Andrade is if you're like a Latin person.
Andrade. All right. Now that we got that figured out, he's a great.
Now let's talk about his Thai opponent, whose name
fighter.
we probably cannot pronounce even if we tried. This is gonna be a mismatch, and either way, it'll be nice to see Andrade back fighting because he's a good, talented fighter, and although I mean I'm a little conflicted because the last thing we really need right now at super welterweight is a defensive fighter. We've got a lot of those, and here's another one. Tall, defensive, southpaw.
I don't think that it's a style that division needs. It needs some more personality. There's not one that's really stamped their mark on it.
Who would you favor against him out of those top super welterweight?
Canelo.
Yeah, easily.
Lara.
No, yeah.
But that would be a fight where you would have to watch it in episodes because you could probably only do about 2 at a time. Maybe Julian Williams.
Do you think so?
No, I'm kidding. I just said that to see what you would say.
No, I like Williams.
I know
too.
that.
Yeah, so I like Williams too. So I don't know that it's. I think it'd be a little too quick of a jump for Williams, but Williams needs to just step it up anyways. So, what about the Charlos?
One of them was supposed to fight Andrade actually last December.
Right.
That's a tough one. The Charlos both have flaws. Jermell he's a little chinny, and he's more complete, but there's just something missing in his game. And then Jermall does not do much other than jab a lot of the time. So it's tough to say that they would win a decision or be able to stop Andrade because we haven't seen them, show crushing power.
Right.
But let's talk about somebody with crushing power in Andy Lee. And there's a rumor that he's going to fight Billy Joe Saunders for his WBO title in a stadium fight in the UK.
Don't you love that?
Oh, I love this. Yeah, I absolutely love this matchup. I think this would be such a fun fight. Just the atmosphere, the overall atmosphere of the event itself will be just magnificent.
Traveler versus Traveler title fight.
It's only been done once before when Tyson Fury uppercutted himself. That was
Simon
the last. That was the last Traveler versus Traveler.
Simon hates that.
Yeah, because anytime he tries to defend him and call him some kind of great heavyweight, all you have to do is post that picture.
Simon, do you want to defend Fury's honor here?
No.
You can't answer.
I don't think it needs. I don't think it needs. He's evolved and he's a lot better than he was then.
Yeah, he'd probably stop himself. That's how much he's evolved.
So who do you guys have in this fight? Andy Lee versus Billy Joe Saunders?
Saunders.
Why?
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Why? You don't like Andy Lee? Who doesn't like Andy Lee?
No, it's not. It must be that you personally dislike him. Oh, that's right. Andy Lee slept with his wife.
No, it's I don't know. I'm always impressed with Saunders, and Saunders seems to be one of those guys that just grows to the occasion and will keep growing. And I just think that he'll be able to adapt and neutralize what Andy can do.
He kind of faded late against Eubank Jr.
Yeah, it's true, but I'm hoping he won't make the same mistake. He's gone into deep water and seen how risky it can be. I'm hoping that he'll have that patched up now.
And he's got a good chin on him too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Saunders?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to need a bat to put him down.
That's what I thought.
Or a short right hook.
Who's got that?
Eubank Jr.? No, I mean, what we've seen so far is that if Lee hits you with that right hook and your name isn't Chavez Jr., you're going down with it. You're going down. But it's just worth mentioning, though, that Billy Joe Saunders, in his last, 10 or something fights, this guy has fought an unbelievable level of competition. Most people, they fight the journeyman and then immediately jump up to the European level where they try to take on the easiest, but, the name that's going to get them the most respect and recognition so that they can get a title shot. That's not been the case with Billy Joe Saunders. The dude has went through every prospect out there and every undefeated European level fighter he can get his hands on as he's risen. And so what we do know is that he can box. And not like, the outside defensive kind of boxing, but he'll stand in the pocket and trade with you. And he's going to win the exchanges.
That's it. And he's not taken the conventional approach. He's had to do it the hard way. When you look through his record, there's lots of fights that you remember thinking at the time, that's too much too soon.
Yep.
Well,
he chose the impossible.
That's what this feels like. That's what this feels like in the Andy Lee fight. Not that Andy Lee is, some, elite level guy, but he's solid competition, and he definitely has a lot of momentum from the fans behind him. But Lee is a beatable fighter.
In terms of Andy Lee's credibility, he's a Manny Stewart-trained middleweight who's been there with the best of them over the years. He's, seasoned veteran. So, yeah, I mean, of course it's a massive leap for Billy Joe, but, he keeps taking them.
Yeah, I guess why not, right? It's going to get him on a big stage. It's almost one of those fights where even if he were to lose, people aren't going to look down on him. You know what I mean? You lost Andy Lee. Lee's a great fighter. You know what I mean? So this could just kind of elevate his status in the middleweight division, win or lose, I think. So I think it might be a really good move career-wise.
Simon, just a question about the logistics.
I'm the UK guy, though.
I mean, Jason, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
So Lee's an Irish guy.
Yep.
But he's born in London and lives in London, and they're doing this fight in Ireland. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I'll have Simon field that question.
What do you mean? Has it been signed up and sorted yet?
It's already on BoxRec that they're doing it at the Domen Park Stadium in Limerick, Ireland.
That's bizarre. I mean,
it's a Frank Warren deal, so who knows? Okay. Who knows?
There we go. There we go. But I think the Irish crowds, when we've had some of the bigger stadium fights from Ireland, they have some of the best atmospheres. Anytime you've tuned into a UK card and thought, oh, the atmosphere there was incredible, chances are
it was at Wembley.
It was in Ireland.
Frampton. Yeah, when Frampton fights.
Frampton, yeah. Any of them that fought at the Titanic shipyard, things like that, they've had great atmospheres.
This could end, and this could conceivably be a fight of the year because I think neither guy is going to be willing to go down, and especially in that kind of atmosphere, they will both rise to the occasion.
Yeah, there's so much on the line in that fight from a pride standpoint. And that's when we're starting to talk about super compelling fights. I mean, just like past Saturday's fight, the Battle for Ohio, that was a big deal.
Except they didn't do it in Ohio.
I know, there's the joke, man.
Okay.
The Battle for Ohio was not a big deal.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about next week. I'm Not Ruined Wrong versus John Riel Casemiro. We won't talk too long about this because we don't want you guys to turn off the the recording. I'm Not Ruined Wrong. He's staying.
As 90 iPhones fly out car windows on the highway.
I'm Not Ruined Wrong is coming.
Flyweight, get out of here.
A big win over Zhu Shiming on Zhu Shiming's card in Macau, and now he's gonna fight Casemiro. And here's what you need to know about Casemiro. He's lost twice. 25 years old, Filipino dude. He hasn't lost in a while, and when he did lose, they were in both fights were in world title fights. This is gonna be a tough fight for Ruined Wrong, but what we've seen from him so far is that he just knows what to do to win fights.
I think the more accurate question is, can Casemiro knock him out or hurt him?
No, because he's gonna need to. They're in Thailand.
Then the fight's lost.
Ruined Wrong's got a ridiculous chin, even though
that's
he's been
it.
Dropped before. He's never looked like he's been wobbled or anything.
His endurance is ridiculous, and they always say that the guys that come from Thai backgrounds and things like that, their fitness is off the charts because they're used to taking kicks and enduring much bigger blows. But I mean, the Zhu Shiming fight, he doesn't sit down between any round. He gets dropped in one of the rounds, goes to his corner, he stands on his feet, he's standing. This is a guy who's fighting for an hour and doesn't take a seat.
It's Floyd Mayweather level endurance.
Beyond. Floyd Mayweather was there taking down notes.
Well, I mean, and that's a fight we should be looking forward to in the future, is Ruined Wrong versus Mayweather.
Exactly.
Let's talk about Oscar Valdez versus Ruben Tamayo, which was added to the Bradley Vargas undercard because, I don't know, they didn't think it was going to pull in a good rating or something, so they had to bring in the best prospect in boxing to fill out that undercard.
You shouldn't call him a tomato, that's disrespectful.
No, that's actually his name.
Oh, really?
Tamayo. I'm serious.
And how's he shaped up? What's he look like?
He's a little red,
Hispanic guy.
little round. Oh, he's got a green hair.
No, he doesn't have green hair. He.
I described a tomato, Angelo. He's red, a little
you were oblivious to that. He's round and red.
He's round, red, and has green hair.
Sorry, that's just broken me. Oh.
If it makes you feel any better, his nickname is Canelito, which is Little Canelo.
Doesn't Canelo mean like caramel in the first place or something? Cinnamon, that's it.
Cinnamon. It's so close.
Little cinnamon.
But we should find out what tomato means in Spanish.
I don't think you phrased that correctly.
So
I think tomato probably means tomato.
Tomato in Spanish is tomate.
Tomate.
Literally tomate.
Not like pomodoro.
Pomodoro. That's Italian. I think the real question is here, will he prove to be a tomato can in the ring?
Against Oscar Valdez, it's going to be pretty hard to not look like a tomato because Valdez is, he's the best prospect in boxing. This dude has a complete game. He came out the womb looking like he was a world level fighter. And the thing about Oscar Valdez, though, and it's a concern I have going forward, given that he's in a division that's full of a lot of talented guys, is that he doesn't have as much power as his KO ratio suggests. He's scored some knockouts, but a lot of the times his stoppages have come from either the referee just stepping in and saying that's way too much damage you're taking, or the towel goes flying in the ring, or the guy just like, you know what, I'm not getting off of this stool here. If you look at his record, he has maybe 2 legitimate knockouts. And he sits right now at 15-0 with 14 knockouts. So it kind of gives you a sense of the power that he has. He's only been a professional for 2 years, by the way. This fight, it's tough because he's competing at featherweight. The title picture there is a little tough to get a title in that division. And I think Valdez, though, should be in that conversation by the end of the year if he stays active.
Fair enough. And what station etc. is that on for you guys? Who's putting this card on?
It'll be an HBO.
HBO card.
This is going to be on the Bradley Vargas undercard. And I don't know why Valdez is on the undercard, and I don't mean that in any way other than he was already scheduled to be on a True TV main event card with Gilberto Sanchez, I mean. And then they took him off and they just put him on this one. And I'm just curious, was Top Rank unable to secure another undercard fight? That they're bringing in a showcase fight featuring a prospect. And maybe they want to just get their prospects out there now.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, right? Maybe now's the time to just get them out in front of the cameras a bit more and give them the exposure that comes with an HBO, broadcast.
Right. Because they expect a big number on this one too. Yeah,
well, I mean, Bradley is big star. I never understood how they paid Bradley so much. Bradley's wife is his manager and managed to get him one of the best contracts in boxing if you look at the ratio of people who tune into his fights versus how much he gets paid. It's crazy. He gets paid, probably 4 to 5 times more than Golovkin, but it's nowhere near the ratings or popularity.
He has a win over Manny Pacquiao.
And what did that do for his career?
I don't know, but that was probably the extent of the conversation.
It did a lot for his negotiating, yeah.
But we beat Pacquiao. They're like, you're right. Add another 0.
Add another 0. That was good.
Yeah, I wonder whether it's culturally, summer's a much bigger thing for you guys. Like your school holidays, for example, are way bigger. It's the summer thing. Does that draw more, or is it conventionally thought to draw more sports fans in, or is people spending more time on the weekends on leisure active? I don't know.
I think it's drawn less. Yeah, because
in boxing we usually have pretty weak summers, and the only time we get good fights are the ones that are at StubHub because those are the ones you can put outdoors here in California.
Right. Mostly people are doing more leisure activities, but they may not be home on the weekends. They're doing trips wherever or so and so. So you see a lull sometimes in the summer, and I think you could chalk it up to that more than anything. It's just nice. It's just about
summer right now.
It's just nice out.
Well, just looking at the reasons why they may have chosen to move that undercard fight or what their deal is, and it could be in line with what you've just said, that they're not looking to put on as much until the winter comes, so they're just saving it.
I know you don't like it, Angelo, but I think we should really dedicate more of the podcast airtime to the solstice in general. But.
I have no clue what that means, but okay.
Well, we'll do Hespak's Solstice Corner next week. I'll get it all prepped up.
The Sundaypuncher Summer Podcast.
Sundaypuncher Summer Solstice Spectacular.
What would we fill that podcast with? Movies and
movies.
Things to stay cool.
Yep. Yeah. Air conditioner repair.
Air conditioner repair. The different types of Freon you can use. There's a lot of things we can do, actually.
Fan replacement.
We might even, I don't know if you want to do this, Simon, but we can review the new True Detective episode next week.
Oh, we are so on that. Oh, are you kidding me? We're retitling it the True Detective Boxing Podcast. We're going off-brand for the next 8 weeks.
Yeah, for summer.
for True Detective. It starts tonight.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Simon, are you going to watch?
No.
Why?
No, I might do and see if we can compare it to another boxer that's out there at the minute.
And what would you be hoping that boxer, like what kind of connection would you be making?
I don't know. We'll see. I'll put the feelers out and let you know.
If you don't know what we're talking about, Simon hates True Detective.
It is terrible, though. In fairness, it is so bad.
My girlfriend really likes it. I'm gonna go call
She's
her
wrong.
into the room. And see
No, it's a good show. It's a fine show.
Now, by a fine show, is that like fine? Like Broner's punching power is fine, or?
No, it's better than that. It's just Simon has some preconceived notion that they're trying to copy what was the crack show, Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad.
The crack show.
A show I've never seen.
You know nothing, Jason Snow.
You've never watched.
You can't comment on this.
So here's what I'll say. That every stories that's being told now has already been told. Everything is just kind of retelling of different stories, right? In the grander scheme of things. So you can't really just pull something apart because it falls up, because it has some of the same traits or characteristics of a show that's already been made. You could say that about any show.
It's not the story. It's the way that it's told. It's the only the settings, the scenes, and True Detective's just so up its own ass when it goes on to the little like clever dialogues that aren't clever remotely. He's just like this tortured genius, except he's not genius. He's just like Holden Caulfield.
Did you hear that they were sued for plagiarism?
Really?
Yeah. Some of those scenes that you hate the most, the one that you're referencing, like the whole time is a flat circle thing, that was dialogue that they actually pulled out of a book.
So they couldn't even suck at sounding smart. They had to steal someone else's miserable attempt at sounding smart, and they lacked the understanding to see that it wasn't a genuinely intelligent or thoughtful, piece of dialogue, because they don't know what they're doing.
Interested in it, This American Life did a great podcast episode on it, where they interviewed the writer of the book, and talked about how he found out they used it, in the show and everything. Is very interesting. In depth.
This American Life. You can subscribe to them on iTunes.
We don't ever ask.
Sorry.
Stitcher. We don't ever ask anybody to subscribe to our podcast. So I figured we'd.
We might as well start promoting other people.
I think we should ask them to subscribe.
Seemingly at random.
So if you guys are trying to make a dig at me, it's not working. I don't care.
There's another show. It's called Serial.
Serial is really good, by the way.
People like that.
Subscribe to that, definitely.
Definitely subscribe to Serial.
Serial is probably the best thing I've watched or read or listened to.
Did you watch The Jinx? Did you do The Jinx?
I watched 2 episodes of The Jinx, and that was just... The guy's weird. He makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yes, he should.
We can condense this into... we can do a little summer feature and list out all the podcasts that are more enjoyable or more entertaining than our one.
Well, I'm not saying... I'm not necessarily comparing.
So I don't know why you guys are avoiding talking about Bradley versus Vargas, but that's what's next.
No, we're going to use this as our discussion on Bradley versus Vargas because it is significantly more interesting.
Now, you guys favor Bradley here, right?
Indeed.
I do, and there's part of me that wants to kind of come off with a bold move and just say, Bradley might be a fighter on the decline. Because of what we saw in his last performance, and he's maybe he's a little more ripe for the pick, and then we're giving him credit for it. But I just don't think Vargas is going to be the guy.
No, I think they're both going to look like they've been in a fight by the end of it, though.
Yeah, exactly.
The last fight with Bradley was the first fight I'd ever seen Bradley look truly gassed, like he had nothing,
Right.
which is crazy because Bradley's been, this guy that's like got ruined wrong type of stamina. I'm giving away my preview, and I don't want to do this, but I think it's a good point. But based on what we've seen in Bradley's last 2 to 3 fights, this fight is everything for him. If he loses this fight, Bradley's no longer a relevant welterweight. And I know a lot of people love Bradley after his war with Provodnikov. Get out of here with that, okay? Bradley almost lost to Marquez, and I'm a Bradley fan. I really like Bradley, and I thought he beat Marquez. I really wanted him to beat Pacquiao.
He didn't almost lose to Marquez.
It was a split decision, and some people still think that was a really close fight. I thought Bradley clearly won that fight.
Bradley clearly won that fight.
Back at the time, Provodnikov was being viewed as this sort of fierce wrecking ball. And so people were like, wow, he won despite going life and death with that guy. And then as Provodnikov's gone on and been Provodnikov and been sort of a one-dimensional fighter that's flawed and has been exploited by a couple guys, you see, it wasn't the case of, wow, Bradley won despite going life and death with this guy. It's, Bradley had to go life and death with this guy?
Right, yeah, absolutely. There is some... you could use hindsight to view that fight significantly differently. And I think a lot of it went into it was Bradley and his team gave Provodnikov zero respect as far as in a training camp.
No. His team gave Provodnikov respect. Bradley didn't.
Okay, sure.
I firmly remember Joel Diaz cussing Bradley out in the corner, asking him what he was doing.
Well, once the fight had started, yeah, sure. I'm talking about like in their training. I don't know if they took him very seriously. They took him very seriously after the first round, but I'm just saying, before that, just like we saw him do with Chavez, right? He didn't take that Chavez fight seriously, right? So that's the same thing. Coming off of his fights with Manny Pacquiao, the next guy that he fights, he doesn't take very seriously because he's like, hey, I've just been in the ring with Pacquiao. You know what I mean? And then he doesn't take.
Well, you think that his training camp was hindered? You think he was just lazy in training, or?
I think looking at his body,
I think he had
no
to
way
have been.
He's lazy.
Yeah. No, I think he had to. Maybe not. I think he showed up, but I don't know what happened in that Chavez fight because it was not the same Bradley that we've seen. You know what I mean?
He always looks Desert Storm, though, not Dessert Spoon. Like he looks conditioned.
Right? No, too conditioned. You'd say he's too much muscle mass, but and it slows him down and hinders him, keeps him tight. I think sometimes, because for a guy with so many muscles, you'd think he'd be able to hit hard, but that's not the case. But yeah, I think he took both Provodnikov and Chavez lightly, and he paid for it dearly in both fights.
With his face.
With his face. So now what's he gonna, with Vargas? I don't know. I don't think Vargas is the guy that's going to be able to, pull the upset. But I think there are plenty of people out there who could probably get by Bradley at this point.
So that kind of answer, I was going to ask you guys the question of where do you guys rate Bradley pound for pound and in the welterweight division? Because there seem to be a lot of people that think Bradley's, one of the top fighters in the sport as well as one of the top fighters at his division.
Well, I think we all have a theory on why he's one of the top fighters in the sport, right? Something to do with fights with Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
So it hasn't helped Floyd Mayweather.
I don't know. I really do think Bradley is a decent fighter, but I need to see how he looks post this Chavez fight. Because personally, I thought he looked really good in the Marquez fight. I think he expertly outboxed Marquez and really did some really good work in that fight. And that Bradley, the one that beat up Marquez, I think that Bradley is you could, I don't know, maybe lower top 10 pound. That Bradley is a really good fighter. But beyond that, I haven't really seen anything, that leads me to believe that he's on the incline,
Yeah, I think he's screwed commercially and in terms of marketing wise, because he's not someone that you are desperate to see prospects tested against. No one's saying when's the Bradley fight happening about anyone really. And matchmakers all know that you can't sleep on him. He's a tough opponent that's got real credible talent, but he's not going to bring potentially much interest or finances. Like he's in one of those places where his risk reward, I think, is in the wrong place.
What do you think, Angela?
I think you guys talked a lot about Bradley and not enough about Jessie Vargas. So I'm going to talk about Vargas. Vargas is in a losing scenario here. If he beats Bradley, this doesn't get him much because beating Bradley at this point, he's right for the picking. I think you said that at the beginning, Jason.
Yeah.
You lose, well, guess what? You just lost to a guy that fought Diego Chavez to a draw. So Vargas has to do something drastic in order for him to take himself to the next level. And the other thing is, I don't know what they're doing with Jessie Vargas or what their plan is. So let's just look at what Jessie Vargas has done recently.
DeMarco was his last fight.
So for the longest time, Jessie Vargas was competing at 147. Now, why was he at 147? Because he was going to get a Mayweather shot or a Pacquiao shot. Then he goes back down to 140 because he's like realizing I have no power at this division.
That's what I never understood about his career. Like even back when he was fighting at welter, it's like he was you'd always hear his name floating around Pacquiao, but it was like what the hell has he done?
And then he goes to back down to junior welter, scores 0 knockouts. And now he's back at 147 against Timothy Bradley, a guy who is, a little difficult to knock out.
But he doesn't have power, at least.
And the reason why Jessie Vargas is relevant with his 26 wins and 0 losses and 9 knockouts is that a while ago when he was a prospect and when he was still scoring knockouts, Amir Khan called out Floyd Mayweather, and Mayweather laughed at him and said, why don't you beat Jessie Vargas? If you can beat Jessie Vargas, who was training out of Mayweather's gym in Vegas, then maybe we can talk. And that fight never got made, and Khan was like, no, thank you. I don't think I'll fight a guy who likes to fight on the outside and box, who's also the same height as me. I'd rather fight a much smaller man. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So, to be honest, I don't enjoy watching Vargas fight. He jabs and moves from the outside, and his fight with DeMarco was as ugly of a war as you can have it be back when they fought last November. Predictions, guys.
I'm going to edge it. A unanimous decision for Bradley.
Yeah, UD Bradley, 115, 113, facially wrecked. Both of them. Yeah, both of them bruised, moused, cut up.
Who's he fighting? Vladimir Klitschko?
No, I just think that they're going to collide faces. I just think it's going to be ugly.
Oh, you like that? Okay.
Headbutts, yeah.
Okay, well, that's always in play with the Bradley fight.
Mm-hmm. His head is 80% of his body, so it's just...
I always thought they should change his alias to Tim Thunderdome Bradley.
Yeah, you've been pushing that shit for over a year now.
Yeah.
I think Bradley does win this fight, and I think that the odds of a knockout are extremely slim.
What do you think? Okay, so let's look at Bradley's knockout percentage is about like 13%. So what's more likely? Would you rate it above or below his knockout percentage? Okay, his knockout percentage is 35%.
Right, and Jessie Vargas is 35
also 35.
as well.
Okay, yeah. So is it above or below 35% that you expect a knockout from either guy?
Below.
Okay.
Below, yeah, definitely.
Way below. Let's look at their knockout percentage in their last 5 fights. How about that one? Oh,
yeah, exactly.
So it looks like 0 for Vargas, and let's see, Tim Bradley. Oh, it's also 0.
So would you rate it above or below 0%?
I think we're at a push.
I think we're at a push. Yeah, that's what they call it. Exactly.
So a knockout's not happening in this fight. The only way a knockout happens is if somebody throws something from the stands at the StubHub Center and it hits one of them in the face.
Honestly, complete possibility.
Well, after that Chavez fight, which was this is in the cards, but they were well behaved at the Robert Guerrero fight, but I don't think there was enough people there.
No, the problem with the Chavez Jr. fight is it didn't sell any tickets, so they went down to Skid Row and started handing out free tickets.
The StubHub Center is actually on a college campus or very close to it, so they gave out the tickets to the students. But nice try. I don't know what's worse though.
Yeah, I don't know what's worse, seeing an empty Guerrero arena, or that was sad. I don't even like Guerrero that much, and that was sad to see.
But what would be interesting, and what we're going to do right now, is we're going to look at how much tickets are for this fight.
Oh boy! Well, I'll tell you right now. Any Top Rank HBO broadcast that I've ever gone to, the tickets are very expensive when compared with
Not the Golovkin Rubio fight. That was really cheap.
But you didn't let me finish. When
Go
you
ahead.
compare them to, when you compare them to Golden Boy
I just
fights,
messed up.
when you
was
compare them
not
to
Top
Golden Boy
Rank.
promotion fights,
That was K2 as well.
right?
So let's see who. What is your guess for the cheapest ticket on StubHub right now, Simon?
The cheapest? Okay, go on.
For what? For Bradley?
Yeah, the cheapest ticket available.
It's $8.
Okay.
No.
Jason.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's probably 75.
You've done this before, Jason. $79.95 is the cheapest ticket on StubHub right now.
Yep.
We'll see. There's time yet.
And it's not even in a good spot. It's in the corner, like on the top row.
Well, there's no bad spot at StubHub, really. I mean, that place is brilliant. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it's a top rank fight, even the worst seats they're ridiculously expensive cards to go to live. Whereas Golden Boy will give you a $10 ticket for the same seat and just hope they pack the place.
That Cotto fight was ridiculously high priced.
Yep.
And you know, Andre Ward's fight this past weekend was really expensive as well. The tickets for like the worst seat was like $80, just like this Bradley fight. Now, granted, that was a basketball arena, and that seat was probably not very good.
Right, that was far away.
I mean, at StubHub at $80 in the top row, that's worth it.
You're getting a great view, yeah.
So if you're from LA or the LA area and you've never been to StubHub, don't even worry about where your ticket's at. Just buy the ticket because they're all great seats.
Yeah, and StubHub, there's something to be said for you want to be about 5 to 10 rows back, just so you're off floor level. And once you get into those like mid-range seats, like they're just fantastic.
Yeah, last time I was there, I was sitting right below the cameras.
Yep.
So it was like watching on TV. Except I forgot my glasses at home.
So, Simon, are there any venue reviews on the West Coast that you'd like to participate in? I think we might have lost him. Between this and True Detective, I think he dropped his phone and left.
He's like, I'm not in this conversation no more. But Simon, now you know how Jason feels whenever we talk about British boxing.
And I hang in. I'm a trooper. I even participate.
I don't know if I want to talk about this, but I don't know if you guys watched it. I didn't watch it either, so I was hoping you guys knew. So, Bob Arum, HBO will not matchmake for us. We will take our fighters elsewhere. Unless HBO curbs Nelson, they're going to get Kovalev against mismatches. They're going to get Golovkin against mismatches. Nelson is not good for boxing. He's not good for us, and he's not good for HBO.
Nelson?
So you didn't watch it?
Who's Nelson? What are you talking about?
Lord Admiral Nelson.
Okay, let me...
What are we talking about?
Okay, so there was a video...
Simon, you are here? Nah, I didn't think so. All right.
So Bob Arum was interviewed this week, and he was kind of went in on HBO. He said that he's not going to let HBO matchmake for them, and that if HBO wanted to call the shots on who their fighters are going to fight, they'll leave Nelson. They won't leave Nelson, but they'll leave HBO. And there's a guy there, Peter Nelson, with HBO Sports, who's doing a lot of this, and they're trying to get and give to the fans Kovalev and Golovkin against guys that are way out of their level of competition that they should be fighting at. And he says that Peter Nelson is not good for boxing, and he's not good for anybody really, and especially they're not willing to do business with him if he's going to try to force them to make fights.
So it sounds like to me, from what I'm hearing, is that Bob Arum is a little jealous that HBO is green lighting mismatches for Kovalev and Golovkin, but he won't do it. But they won't green light those same kind of mismatches for top rank fighters. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's exactly what it sounds like. What do you think, Simon?
Yeah, it's different situations though, because what he needs is knockout artists who have interesting personalities and background stories. And if you haven't got those, don't expect to be permitted showcase mismatches all the time.
Yeah, he just sounds like he's a little jealous, but he doesn't have those kind of fighters. Why would they? But then it's like, but then he, and this is the part that it always gets a little, the waters get a little cloudy. And he's basically like pretending that he's not a promoter, like I can't get these fights, I want to, like, what is he saying? I want to put on crappy fights too. Wow.
That's what it sounds like to me.
I want to put on crappy
like
fights.
Arum
they won't
is
let
saying,
me.
I want to be able to put on the fights that I want to put on, but no, HBO's favoring their guys. And Bob Arum doesn't have a lot of HBO guys right now. He doesn't have too many guys where HBO has created them themselves. He's got the Bradleys and stuff who are at a point where they need to fight the guys that HBO says they want them to fight so that they can pull in the ratings to earn their paycheck.
Well, I think you have to look at it as with Golovkin, he's taken the biggest and best fights that will come his way. It's not that he's not forthcoming. He said, give me these people, and these people have walked away. So he's just fought the best that he's able to. Kovalev, again, fighting mainly the best that he's able to. Tiny bit of an asterisk there, but I don't want to get too deep into it. But there's not an obvious lack of competitiveness from him. And then you can explore Pacquiao, for example. Under Bob Arum's guidance, we see Algieri, Rios. And at that time, I could have pointed to you Porter, Thurman, Brooke. There were people at the weight class waiting who would have been more exciting matchups that got blatantly ignored.
So do you think there's any possibility that if HBO tries to push Arum around, that he gets up and leaves?
Where's he go? True TV?
China and Bet? I don't know.
True TV has to have some connection to HBO because they seem to use like all their graphics and stuff. I think they moved to Showtime.
Oh, there you go. Showtime actually has built up a treasure chest of money for their boxing division, which is currently not being used and just sitting in a closet somewhere.
Actually, it's sitting in Al Heyman's bank account, but
not anymore. It's not.
Well, it wasn't HBO's.
That was the last 2 years of boxing programming budget went right direct deposited into Al Heyman's bank account.
It is possible that they move over to Showtime, but then Bob Arum is well old, so I don't know, how likely that is.
I would Showtime would love that.
Yeah, of course.
I think there's a chance that Bob Arum does move, but he would only be hurting himself. I think what really helps his fighters is HBO's branding and the agreement out there that they are, no matter what fight they're putting on, mismatches or not, like the gold standard of boxing. And if he takes his fighters away from that and puts them on some other network, it kind of takes some of the luster off of.
What I think it takes the some of the muck away from HBO. That would like purify HBO's roster to a higher standard. Who does Arum hold with HBO?
Shall we go down the list?
Please.
So they have Timothy Bradley. And I want to hear cheer or boos when I say these names, okay?
Well, no, I think that's too linear. Like
that's funny.
That's going to create like a false binary. Like with Bradley, he isn't a stellar performer that people are like, yeah, I definitely got to see the Bradley fight. He's not, standout. But I like him. I rate him. He's talented.
Nonito Donaire.
But the other
Terrence Crawford.
Oh, good. Ding.
Crawford's good. Yeah.
Mike Alvarado.
Evgeny
Gradovich. Vasily Lomachenko.
Yep.
The eventual return of Mikey Garcia. Roman Martinez. He holds the title, guys.
Yeah.
The Magdaleno brothers. Jesse's good. Prospects. Let's see. Ivan Nahara, who we just saw. Felix Verdejo, who just beat him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Brandon Rios.
Mm-mm.
Julian Rodriguez, a good prospect. Jose Ramirez, a very good prospect. Gilberto Ramirez, a very, very good prospect.
I'll let you have that one.
No, just very good prospect. Ryota Murata, who some feel is one of the best middleweight prospects out there. Andy Ruiz Jr.
Recently training in Big Bear with Abel Sanchez.
Yeah. What about Jessie Vargas? Zhu Shiming.
Meh.
Right,
I'm not blown away by your list.
Nicholas Walters.
All right, there you go.
Glenn Tapia.
No.
All right, I got two last names for you. Two final names that are gonna win this one for me.
Let me. Could I guess one of them? It rhymes with Hanny Nakiao.
Nope. Oscar Valdez.
Yeah.
And Manny Pacquiao.
See, I don't think there's... If you had to rank that roster out of 10, that's like a 6 out of 10 roster. It's not all killer. You've got a lot of filler in there.
I'd rate it... I'd rate it
10?
a lot higher than 6 out of 10 when you look at... if you're comparing it
Frank Warren?
promoter to promoter. If you compare promoter to promoter...
Oh, no, yeah,
like
I don't think it's... Not for that purpose. But in terms of, like, if all of those people moved away from HBO, I don't think it'd be that bad for them.
Oh, I think that'd be pretty bad.
They'd be really annoyed about Lomachenko.
Well, then who would HBO... HBO would have main events and, like, banner promotions.
And K2.
K2 has one fighter that anybody is relevantly interested in.
Are you serious?
Who else?
Do you know what K stands for?
Yeah, okay, fine. Does he even fight on HBO, or is he still banned?
He fights on HBO.
Who?
Okay, because he was banned for a while.
Klitschko, who's aired like Klitschko's last 3 or 4 fights.
They ban him though. The one at the drop of
they ban him after every single fight, but then bring him back
because he reminds them that he's got Golovkin.
Right.
So, it would be that would be a massive blow to HBO's boxing programming. Absolutely. All of HBO's rising stars minus, it's basically, that's all of HBO minus Golovkin and Kovalev.
And Roman
Klitschko?
Gonzalez.
Roman Gonzalez.
Because everybody cares about
Roman Gonzalez. Okay. But seriously, that HBO isn't working.
I don't know.
Chelsea.
I don't think that it would be game over for them.
But they would have Miguel Cotto. I thought that would get me, like, something. Come on, guys. Andre Ward?
I'm just craning my neck thinking about how awful it would be for them. I don't know. I don't think it would be lights out. I think HBO has this sort of, like, gold standard where Aram's fighters would be relegated to, like, junk. And whoever HBO brought in would be stepped up.
Of course, and you'd see it in their commentating and everything. All these great fighters like Crawford or Walters and things like that HBO had been pushing would suddenly be the number 2s and 3s in their division versus whoever they were able to get on board.
Crawford would be. It's like, oh yeah, the number 3 ranked super lightweight in the world, Terrence Crawford.
Right? But now we have who knows?
Jessie Vargas, who's returned to super lightweight after losing to Timothy Bradley and having his contract canceled by Top Rank.
So and then I forgot to say they'd also have Golden Boy, so they'd still have Matisse and
Lemieux.
They'd still have Provodnikov. They'd still have Lemieux
if they cared about.
Who they didn't broadcast his fight. Yeah, so they care. They'd have to start caring. I think it would be. It would obviously. It's not going to stop boxing on HBO. That's too big of a behemoth. But it would be a really good body shot that would put him down for an 8 count. That's for sure.
Thanks for listening, and we will be back next week.